Hello and welcome to Flickstick. I'm Zach, and in today's video, I'm going to be discussing a LiquidSky security vulnerability that was recently revealed over on Reddit. I'm going to be talking about what exactly this means and some steps you can take to reduce or hopefully even eliminate the impact of the security issue on you personally. I am going to post the original Reddit thread in the description below if you're interested in reading that too. Before we dive into the security issues though, I do want to announce that LiquidSky is aware of this issue and they are working towards a fix, and that this fix will be included in their new streaming client. They don't have any exact date nailed down for when the new streaming client will launch, but I'm sure you'll see this on both the Flickstick YouTube as well as the Flickstick website, because this is sure to be a pretty major release. Of course, it's going to have the security issue that we're going to talk about today, or the fix for the security issue, as well as other improvements to the streaming client. So it's going to be a pretty major upgrade or update, at least that I'm assuming that. So I'm sure you'll see some coverage of that in the future, and when you do, make sure you just download that as soon as possible. So the LiquidSky security issue essentially stems from the fact that the connection between you and your LiquidSky computer is not encrypted. With an encrypted connection, only the sender of the data and the intended recipient are able to understand the data that is being transmitted. So if someone were to intercept those data packages, they would not be able to gain valuable information from that data. However, with an unencrypted connection, which is what LiquidSky currently has, they are working towards that encrypted connection, but what they currently have is an unencrypted connection. And what that means is someone were to intercept the data between you and your Sky PC, then they would possibly be able to parse that data and gain access to valuable sensitive information such as your account details. For example, if you're logging into Steam, they would have your username and password for Steam. So that isn't a minor issue by any stretch, but there are some very easy steps that I highly recommend to greatly reduce the impact of this security issue and possibly completely negate the issue, or at least make it where it will not impact you, or greatly reduce the possibility of it impacting you. So first and foremost, when presented to you, I always recommend using two-factor authentication. I know, for instance, that Steam has a great two-factor authentication service where they will email you a code that you must input into Steam when you first log in on a new computer, or if you have to re-log in for some reason or another. This is a great way to protect your account, and it not only protects it against this particular security issue, but it also just protects it in general, and I highly recommend two-factor authentication if the option is presented to you on any of your various accounts. Moving on, the next step you can take to reduce or eliminate the impact of the security issue is to avoid using LiquidSky on a public network. On your private network, it's much less likely that the data would be intercepted by someone that is trying to use it maliciously. Of course, there is always that small possibility, but it's much less likely. And if, for instance, someone was already on your local network, then you have much bigger issues already than having to worry about someone just intercepting the data between you and LiquidSky if they're already on your private network. However, on a public network, you are sharing that connection with other users, and you probably don't even know some of those people, and you most likely don't trust those people simply because you don't even know them. So on that note, I would strongly recommend not using LiquidSky on a public network such as a Starbucks or a McDonald's connection in the time being. If you at all, you can avoid that. If for some reason you have to use it on a public network, you can try using a VPN. This is going to much more than likely introduce added latency to your connection and will negatively impact your experience with gaming on LiquidSky, but it's much better than having a completely unencrypted connection. On a quick note though, the issue is slightly less major than it might seem at first glance, simply because if you have an unencrypted connection to Facebook, for example, Facebook is a huge target, and of course they have their connection encrypted and stuff, but if you had a unencrypted connection to Facebook, it's a huge target. LiquidSky is still fairly small, so they're a much smaller target to people trying to intercept your data, so it's less likely that your LiquidSky data would be purposely targeted but that doesn't necessarily mean you're entirely safe on using LiquidSky in a public network. So once again, I do recommend avoiding using a public network if at all possible. And anyways, as a general rule, always use two-factor authentication if the option is presented to you, regardless of whether it's a security issue or not. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you found this video informative as well as enjoyable. Hopefully you learned a little bit from it, and hopefully you have a little bit better understanding of this security issue. Both Josh and I appreciate your support with likes and subscribes for this video. And also, Josh just recently launched a Patreon for FlickStick, so I will link that in the description below. Go check that out. So once again, guys, thanks for watching, and until next time, Zach out.